from an early age, you've been immersed in motorcycle racing of some guise or another. Tell us about how you started and what you did.
I have. So yeah, so basically I've been brought up in a sort of a round about the life of bikes, through my mum and dad and my older brother. So yeah, started off racing motocross bikes when I was 5, and then progressed on to mini motos and then onto the road bikes. So yeah, it's been pretty full on in my 26 years, but yeah, I've loved every minute of it.
And how have you found that then? So you've been riding a motorcycle since you were, knee high to a grasshopper.
Mhm.
Have you always found that just something that girls particularly should do? I mean, were there lots of other girls riding bikes when you were age 5?
Uh, it wasn't common. It's still not overly common. I think because I don't know anything different. I was brought up in that environment, and obviously it was a choice. It was a choice from me. Obviously, my mum and dad and brother and everything didn't force me into it, but because that was the kind of path that my brother went on, then I just automatically kind of followed on, and ended up absolutely loving it. So I didn't take much notice of being, you know, male dominated at that age. It wasn't until kind of the older years that I started kind of realizing, oh, I may be the only girl in this race or the only girl in this like paddock at any one point. So it was only kind of later on that I started realizing, oh, it's not actually the norm for a girl to be doing something like this. So, but yeah, I think because I was so used to it from being so young, then it was second nature to me. So
Do you think if you hadn't had a brother who was racing and your mum and dad who were key motorcyclists as well, that you would have thought about getting into motorcycle racing, or would you have thought that has been a bit strange for a young girl to do?
yeah, being perfectly honest, I probably wouldn't have looked at it as a possible hobby. So yeah, I wouldn't have probably given it a second thought if I hadn't been brought up in that sort of bike of life environment from the very start. I wouldn't have thought so. No.
What do your friends say to you? Do they say, "Sammy, you're amazing"? How do you do all of the other normal girly things, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had a pretty full on life. I mean, I did all the normal girl things. I love dancing and dressing up and makeup, and so I'm probably not the most typical person that you would meet that's got the best of both. I'm quite happy to go and um, you know, get dirty and work on bikes and be in that sort of minging environment, if you want to call it that, to being polar opposite, getting dressed up and doing all the normal girly things, getting my nails done and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, my friends, I think as well, because I grew up with them all from school as well, it was the normal for them as well. Obviously, some of them thought um, it was pretty cool and obviously asked me about it and stuff. But I think the majority of people that knew me from early on kind of just took it as just something that I did. But yeah,
And they weren't interested in joining you in the fray. I suppose. I guess again because it can be quite expensive in that sport. You need to have the backing as well to be able to do it. It's not something you can just rock up and say, "Oh, let's try and do this."
yeah, definitely. I mean, money is a massive part of it, and I've been fortunate enough to um, be brought up in a family that's been able to, allow us to do this hobby for so long. It's not something that most people are able to do for a significant amount of time, which um, because it is like you say, quite expensive.
And how do, obviously in this day and age, mental health is seems to be a big issue. You maybe see it as well, obviously as a teacher. In relation to motorcycling, physical motorcycling activity you do there, do you find that helps you manage your own situation or allows you to escape if you like?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of it is a physically demanding sport, and it's something that I think the overall enjoyment of it has kind of overrides everything else. I mean, you don't really think about how knackered you are or everything like that. It's just the overall, enjoyment of it, and you do feel energized and motivated, and you have got a determination, and you've got goals and stuff, like things to look forward to. I think that definitely helps your overall like health, like mental health and well-being and stuff, definitely.
And what about the danger associated with your particular sport? Do you ever think about that? Does it hold you back at all, or do you think it actually gives you strength in handling other situations that you have to face in life?
um I'm not sure necessarily. I think it depends what, like, the context would be, but it does make you, especially because of the kind of sport that I'm involved in, it does make you appreciate life and think about the other things that are most important and stuff. As a sport that, anything can happen, and you've got to kind of take the good and the bad. But I don't know if it's something that it probably makes me think in a different way in terms of like working as a team, and I'm quite an out there person. I'm not, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm over. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm shy. So it's probably through aspects of that that's helped me in other areas of my life. I think the typical stereotype for me even made me even more determined to want to prove people wrong, in terms of they were maybe a bit shocked, or I wanted to kind of eliminate any shock that people would get of me being or doing well within my sport. I didn't want it to be, oh, a girl on a bike. Oh, um, I didn't want people to look at me twice and think, oh, it's a girl doing that. It shouldn't be like that. But it is. There's always going to be an element of that um, in the world we live in just now. And I think it's very, very difficult for people to overcome the barriers that of what other people think of them. It is very hard, especially if you've not got the confidence or the support network around you. I mean, I've been really lucky that I've got a family that have supported me throughout it all. Um, and it would be really difficult for somebody to try and stick with something if they didn't have, that support network. To try and get young children, like young adults involved in different sports, I think it all stems from the experiences they get from school. So I think trying to incorporate like that sort of physical activity and mental health, well-being, and just really trying to focus on that from a young age. And because I mean, I know personally, I had a really good experience at school and at PE, and I love taking part in all the sports and everything. But I know that there's so many of my friends will refuse to go into a gym, or will refuse to take part in any sort of physical activity because they've had bad experiences, and it's just put them off. So I think if it's something that they're maybe exposed to from earlier on, or they've maybe had an opportunity to take part in something, even if it's with a friends group, they might be more likely to try and try different sports and get more involved in things if they're able to try things out from an earlier age.
All right, Samuel, listen, thanks very much for your input, and lovely to hear what you have to say.